Thanks for joining us, Jessica, on this People Powered profile. So I'm going to hand over to you because there's no one better to introduce yourself than yourself, and perhaps you can give an introduction into you and potentially your career so far to date.
Sure. Thank you so much, Dan. It's a pleasure to be here. My name's Jessica Niekrasz, and I have been in the biogas industry since 2015. It was not a natural pathway for me to, join the industry per se. I'm a marketing person by background, but found my way into the industry at a time where I was coming back to work after being a mom for a while. And I knew that if I went back to work, I wanted to make a difference in the world. And I feel like that's something our industry offers. So, it was just kind of a nice fit. And then, I've just become its biggest cheerleader. So I have served as an owner and operator of facilities. I have worked on policy, and I'm currently the VP of operations for an EPC. So it's a big trip around that biogas pond.
Yeah, certainly. And I think, with that, you've probably been involved in quite a few projects. What are some standout scenarios and projects that you've been involved in and seen?
Sure. So when we first got into the industry, my business partner and I were looking to either build a facility or to purchase one that already existed. And as it turned out, we found a couple that were for sale in and around Madison, Wisconsin. So we purchased the Dane County Community Digester, which is a unique experience because it is both a county-based project. So we had interactions and responsibilities to the local government as well as our farmers. And the other project that we purchased was in partnership with a farm, and we were 50-50 partners. And honestly, There was no contract. It was a handshake agreement the entire time. So those were the two big projects that launched me into the industry. And there were a lot of lessons there. We found out pretty quickly that we had responsibilities for communication and openness with our partners, and that included our farmer partners. We needed to understand their business and what we did and how it impacted them. The county, one of the facilities, the community digester, had a responsibility for nutrient removal to protect a chain of lakes in the watershed. So a lot of reporting back and forth. And, sometimes things go wrong, and, you have to have those conversations up front. It's better to know that information than to hide it and have someone find it. And then all of that ultimately led me to think about the opportunities that lie within Wisconsin and why there weren't more digesters in this state. And ended up founding a 501c4 called the Wisconsin Biomass Energy Coalition, where we advocate for more opportunities within the state of Wisconsin. I currently serve as its board co-chair, and we have some legislation going through the Assembly and Senate this year.
Oh, awesome. So you've seen it all then. And I think picking up on something you said there, really interesting, going from potentially working directly with farmers through to community digesters, and then I guess in more recent times there's lots more businesses have set their stall out and saying this is how we're going to run our digesters. They all run very differently, so from a handshake on a contract through to lots of investment pouring in and everything being very official. I guess you've probably seen it all in a sense of you've had to adjust your working style when you're working with a broad spectrum of people.
Yeah Know your audience is probably the best advice I have on that. I know when I go, I will research. If I'm talking to somebody new, I will research what their concerns are, how their businesses run, and tailor my conversation about digesters because, process digesters or RNG, we're processing waste streams. So really, how does this waste stream interact with the audience that I'm talking to? It's essential because, you could tell a great story, but if it doesn't resonate, then, it's a dud.
Oh, exactly that. I think, over the last 10 years, there's been a lot of change in that sector, lots of developments, and lots of technological advancements as well. What are the standout things you've seen potentially in your time in the industry?
Yeah, when we first started, it was all electricity. And this was based on power purchase agreements and the renewable fuel standard. And, you know, um, as time went on, wind and solar got cheaper in the state of Wisconsin. The legislature allowed hydro from Canada to qualify as part of that, and it really killed the opportunity to renew a power purchase agreement. So you go from making anywhere from 11 to 15 cents per kilowatt hour down to 3, and suddenly the dog doesn't hunt. So 2018-19, we saw that pivot to RNG facilities. This is where my business partner and I chose to exit the industry, not knowing a lot about RNG and having it require a couple of $1 million investment. We were like, we'll sell. So that was our choice. Going forward, we see a lot of conversation around SAF and hydrogen. There's some other byproducts of biogas that are also, being looked at. So I'll be interested to see what where that opportunity lies and where the interest continues to generate investment. I wish I had that crystal ball. I think another challenge is probably like the changes to the low carbon fuel standard out in California. We'll have to see how that shakes out, plus the new administration coming in and seeing what happens with IRA investment and all tax credits and the alphabet soup of qualification of tax credits and qualifications that have come out recently.
Exactly that. And I think, going back 10 years again, it was a little bit easier when you're just focused on that electrical generation. The challenges were the challenges, but now there's a lot more investment, a lot more eyes on the sector as well. What are the biggest challenges that you see might be coming down the pipe in the next, 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, I think first and foremost is workforce. If you're not running, you're not making money. So it's qualified technicians, qualified operators. Engineering is really a challenge. Project management. All of these are super key to, a successful, design, build, and operation. Regulatory uncertainty, which I just mentioned, is definitely going to be a challenge going forward. And then, I think for projects that are underway, interconnection challenges with the utilities and delays that can be experienced there, as well as feedstock viability, finding that consistent product along with the consistent quantity.
Yeah, exactly. And I think going back to some time I spent at the Biogas Americas event last year in Savannah, showing the projected growth of the industry was pretty astonishing, really, on how many assets are going to be built, owned and operated. I guess outside of that, from someone that's going to say on the ground with the boots and looking at building these plants, where do you see the growth from your end?
I think people will continue to focus on landfill gas because it's easy. Those are already cited. The quantity is already there. There's a lot of them. So I think those projects will probably be leading the way. It'll be interesting to see agriculture get more attention and trying to, hub and spoke some of these projects, or if we can reduce costs for facilities, if we can target some of the smaller farms. There's agriculture is just such a fascinating, subset of the industry anyway. And then wastewater treatment will continue to be interesting. And then from a policy perspective, I see a lot of food waste legislation, organic food waste diversion coming through legislatures, and that is very much an opportunity as well. Composting generally seems to be the first thing that a lot of people consider, but I really love the idea of capturing what comes off those piles first in a digester and then using the solids as a compost base.
Yeah, that makes sense, definitely. And I think there's going to be a lot of activity and movement over the next 5 years, which makes the sector so exciting. And, I think going back to one of your points earlier about, if you're not operating, you're not making money. Obviously, you need the people there to do that as well. But sometimes what we see when we're speaking to people, if they're saying they want a career in renewable energy, they're talking about wind, they're talking about solar, and these are the ones that potentially steal the limelight. Someone described to me, and I don't think this is right or fair, that RNG or AD is potentially the ugly stepsister of that renewables family, and it needs to be more of a Cinderella, definitely. How can we, I guess, steer people in the direction to RNG or anaerobic digestion as a career path, and try and divert people away from the traditional ways that they might look at renewable energy?
Yeah, I think I had to go to my junior team members on this, to see, since they've been in the recruiting process more recently than I have, and what brought them into this industry, and they felt that we just don't have that visibility as an industry within the universities. And so partnering with those kinds of with the colleges, just to explain the industry, like these are waste streams. This is low-hanging fruit. We are always going to eat and throw food out and put things in landfills. This is consistent. This is low-hanging fruit. There is no reason we shouldn't be processing these waste streams. And they also said that they're very focused on, really appreciate the fact that they're in sustainability and that what they're doing is part of a circular economy. This is meaningful to them. And so linking that work to their values is key.
100%. I think if you can capture them through that educational journey, then it's a prime industry or prime captive audience to bring into the industry, definitely. But I think sometimes those things are easier said than done when there's lots of other industries trying to do the same thing. But I think there's a challenge there that will go on for many, many years. I guess, to close us out, given the experience you've got, if you were to look back at yourself at the start of your career, what advice would you give to yourself as you started that journey?
Oh, gosh. I would trust myself a lot more. My instincts, your instincts are good. And people's instincts are their instincts for a reason, right? I think another area is don't be afraid to be wrong. There's growth opportunity anytime you learn something new. So ask those questions, put yourself out there, ask for help or guidance. All of these things don't make you weak. It actually makes you stronger ultimately, because what you're doing is weaving together knowledge and creating a fabric by which success can be held, literally. No, you're
exactly that. And I think if some people really resonate with that, so thank you. And thank you for taking the time out for having that conversation with us. I think it will reach the minds that we want to reach to try and push them into the industry. So thank you.
Oh, I appreciate it, Dan.